All right, let's get this going. Hey guys, welcome to 9 Plus Wine. If I was to try and put this podcast into words, I'm not very good at that, but this is going to be a show where a good mate of mine, Nick, and myself, Nathan, we sit down, talk about a few topics from the week, have a good discussion while we drink a bottle of wine, and as amateurs, rate that wine, have some fun, hopefully get a little bit tipsy while we talk about the things we want to talk about. Nick, let's just assume that no one knows us because nobody really does know us. Give everyone listening and watching a brief description. Who you are, what you do, why we're doing this show.
Okay, cool. G'day, my name is Nick. I am born and bred from Picton, New South Wales. Currently working for a company that procures beef for McDonald's around the globe. My position there is a buyer. I live in Manly currently, and then on the weekends I'll come back to Picton, do a bit of coaching on the side, and just catch up with some mates. So I think this show's a good chance for myself and Nathan to probably just spend a bit of time together, catch up on what's going on, and then I guess show everyone else what we're doing as well.
This is my way of making sure I see Nick each weekend.
Yeah.
Because otherwise he wouldn't come back to Picton because he's a big shot.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hello everyone. I'm Nathan Silm. I guess I was keen to do this podcast with Nick, like I said, so I can see him each weekend. I think that doing this podcast will be a good opportunity to try and develop my personal brand, as well as just hang out with friends and talk shit. So I have a full-time role at a local mine. I work Arvo shift there, and in my spare time I run a business called Cedar Cider. We are a very small company. We are I sold my first can of cider a year and a couple of days ago, so that's interesting.
Wow.
But the actual business has been in the works for about 4 years, so I didn't feel authentic to just drink my cider on a podcast, so we're keen to drink wine because we both love wine. It's definitely grown on me in the last 4 years because I realised it was probably going to be important for me as a cider maker to understand wine because they're very much related. So each week we're going to go red, white, and probably a cider on the third week I've decided, just to keep it interesting. And we will give our reviews of that wine as amateurs.
Yeah, uneducated reviews,
which will be fun. The wine we're drinking today is from Fox Creek. My cousin Lauren actually bought this for me at Christmas time. It's really interesting to me because it actually has Braille on the label, and obviously you can't really see it, but I had never seen that before, so I was keen to try it. 2015 vintage. It's Shiraz, Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc. I've never tried this wine before. It looks interesting. So, yeah, we're just going to have it out. I'm more of a red man. Nick's more of a white man in wine preference. But, yeah, that's what we're going to do.
Quick question on what you just said. So your first can of cider sold just over a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
What's a 10-second summary of how the year's been?
Fucked. No. Yeah, look, it's been a very interesting year. The first batch of cider I put out was, in its own way, a massive disaster, but also we made the most of that disaster. So I put 6,000 litres into cans, and then about 2 weeks later I started having cans explode.
I remember that car trip when you started getting the phone calls.
Yeah, it was great. So I had to put out a recall on that whole batch of cider, which was really rough. Like mentally, that was probably the first thing that I've ever really a big fuck up in my life sort of thing. Nick would have seen the worst of it. Like, it just affected me in a lot of ways. But, you know, got to soldier on. Batch 2 actually had the same issue. Batch 3, finally, we worked it out.
That's what it's all about.
Not exploding anymore. But yeah, what's your take on the cider, how it's developed in the last year?
I think it's been interesting to watch your character build. You know, you're definitely a different person to what you were when you started with the idea of cider. It's kind of like just a kind of a dream that could happen. And then I was sitting with Nathan on Friday and just kind of realising that I was drinking his cider that was on tap at the George, which was something we spoke about 4 years earlier, which was, I don't know, kind of a pretty surreal experience even for myself. Like I'm not involved in the cider by any means. I'm just bandwagon hopping on. But it was actually, I feel really good for you. Like, you know,
yeah, you've been there since the start.
And now it's just, you know, that's one step, not like the end all be all anymore. It's like, okay, what's next?
I think that's something I'll do consistently, is always trying to get into the next thing as well. Like I really only feel like the side is starting to become easier for me to do, and now I'm really trying to focus on getting this media up and running. So what is your first topic of discussion?
Well, I think just, this is my thought, just considering it's your first episode and a lot of this is, as you said, brand awareness, it'd be good to just kind of, I want to understand more some of the periods that you went through when you started your cider. I mean, when I think about when your batch 1 came out, there was this hysteria surrounding the initial batch.
Yeah, okay. Everyone loved it. Well, it was a shocking amount of support. To Nick's point, when it originally came out, I held a bit of a launch and a taste testing party at Upstairs in Fred's at Camden, and that was incredible. I think I had about 130 people come out to try the cider that no one had ever tried before. I did 3 small batches, about 500 litres each, and 2 of them one was 5.5%, one was 6%, and we went there and had a good party for like 2 hours. Oh, you weren't there?
I wasn't there. I was at my grandma's 70th, being a good grandson.
And I've never let him forget it. My favourite thing to roast him on. But yeah, look, this community that we have is incredible for support. I've seen it since I've started up. Everyone's been really behind what I'm trying to do. And I think that speaks a lot more to my family than anything about me, really. I know that my dad and my grandfather and the whole family is just kind of built a really good brand around Cedar Creek, and I'm actually really, really keen to start giving people more context about the family. I don't think that my dad and my brother or anyone actually does a good enough job of explaining to people what we're doing here and what we're about. So yeah, you're really going to see us go into depth over the next month or 2 into my family history, which I'm really keen to do. So yeah, that's that.
I remember the day that you were launching and every man and the dog was sharing something on Instagram or having their first sip of Cedar Creek cider, and you've got to try and maintain some form of, I don't know, being humble about what's going on whilst you're getting tagged in a notification every 10 seconds. I mean, that would be pretty hard to not blow up the ego.
Well, I love it, and I also, it's something that...
Cheers as well. Did you already taste it?
I did.
Oh, thanks, mate.
Sorry, I'm rude. I thought you tried some. Yeah, I'm actually keen to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, it's good. That's actually pretty smooth.
I wanted to...
For what time is it? 10:48 in the morning, feeling pretty dusty. That's actually pretty good wine.
Yeah, full context. Hottest 100 was yesterday, and we had a big night. Just went to coffee in the morning, so we're... Yeah.
It's currently fucking hot.
It is very warm.
It's humid.
Very warm. I think it's like probably 30 degrees outside.
Feels like 80 degrees in here.
And this aircon, there's no aircon in this building. Nick's point is correct. There was a lot going on and I loved it, but luckily I have been watching this guy called Gary V, and he said something along the lines of, you need to remind yourself that you're nothing special at the same time as you remind yourself that like you're the fucking best. So that's something I've worked on a lot. Whenever like Nick loves it when people come up and talk to me like, oh hey, you're fucking Nathan Film, blah blah blah. Nick loves that. And I love it too, but I need to remind myself like I haven't done anything. Like I'm still working 2 full-time jobs. I just make sure that I don't get a big head, because that's douchey anyway.
Nathan has put a lot of work into achieving what he's achieved. I think that your last name holds a lot of value in Picton, which definitely helped when you launched the site up. But at the end of the day, you know, that idea wasn't motivated by anyone else. That came internally. That was just from you.
You know what? I realised the other day, we are actually shockingly similar in our circumstance. Like, we're both 3 generations into sort of a business sort of thing. I was thinking about this on Friday. Well, for context for Nick, his family is actually very well known in the Camden area, which is very close to Picton. Why don't you tell everyone about your family history?
My parents own a printing shop called Tony Wolf and Son Printers. They've been in operation for over 60 years. It was started off by my grandfather, Tony Wolf, who recently passed away. He was a great networker, hard worker. Hearing his stories, he worked for 12 years, I think it was, starting his own business and working full-time on the side. So I guess, you know, 60 years ago, side hustle was a thing without the name. So that was really, really nice to hear that, you know, the work ethic of that man to create what is now known as a pretty respected brand in the community. Nice. When you think about printing's very old school, and, you know, you don't really wonder how... it's an industry that's dying. When, you know, maybe turn of the millennium, there may have been 50 printers in the Macarthur area. Now I think there's about 3. So for us to still be in business speaks highly to what my mum and dad have done with the community and their ability to maintain relationships. So I think our brand holds a lot of value in Camden. Not as much in Picton like the Silms, but I'm very proud of them for what they've done.
Yeah, you should be. It's actually so similar in the fact that, like, your family name is also pretty well known in the local area, and it's just mad that we've become really tight friends. But yeah, well, no, I appreciate that. Kudos to your family for doing that as well.
Yeah, just to know, I'm not joining the printing game. This will be the end of the road. Obviously, mum and dad will want to retire one day, and I have no idea what they're going to be doing. That's their choice. But I think I need to go chase my own thing. Look, I bleed yellow. I'm a big supporter of McDonald's as a business, and
it's good business.
I'm very lucky with what I'm doing now. It's a job I actually really enjoy doing.
How'd you get into that?
I got into that through a contact. And what's interesting, long story short, is it is better, like, it's who you know, not what you know. Yeah. It took me 8 years working at McDonald's as a manager, as an employee, to do an unpaid internship for 3 months, driving 2 hours a day each way to Thornley to get one contact who then gave me a phone number to call, and I now have this job. And then when I talk to, you know, other people that may have, you know, found a similar sort of job, well, it comes down to, I went to this school and he knows that school because it's, you know, prestigious, which is great. It's fine. Like I feel very blessed that I have the job, and, you know, I know that I worked hard for it. I don't think it was given to me.
So for context, what areas do you supply beef for?
So every burger that you eat in Australia and New Zealand that has beef in it, that's
gone through Nick.
Yeah, that's primarily my role, to purchase meat for the domestic market. Also for the Asian market, the US, I already mentioned New Zealand. But yeah, it's a good business, fantastic team.
Kill a lot of cows.
Yeah, don't say that.
Sorry to say. What's your first topic? Let's actually bring some value to the other people listening.
I think my first topic was based on people who receive feedback and taking it emotionally rather than constructive.
That's
is something that I've found.
I see it all the time.
Yeah, it's very common. You know, I've been put in situations where you need to give constructive feedback, and a lot of the time it's met with a high level of emotion that it puts you off. It makes it not very constructive, the actual meeting itself. And it's just trying to figure out a way around that to turn it back to focus on the constructive side of this feedback, not just, hey, it's okay, like you'll be okay. Don't cry about it.
But I think it's interesting because some people get worked up over everything. Like so many people just can't take any criticism. But then other people, like I know for myself, there's certain topics that I will sort of get worked up over. Not much because I don't know, I'm okay at that. But still, I think everyone has certain things that'll just kind of get to them. So everyone has it. But yeah, for sure, I think it's an interesting because like, why do some people like not know how to regulate their emotions in that time?
Yeah, I think it's just kind of understanding what position you're in relative position to what they're in. You know, if I was someone working side by side with a colleague or a friend, you know, the feedback I'd need to give them is very different to how I would if I was managing an employee or helping out a brother or something like that. So it's just kind of tailoring the feedback to the type of person they are and the position they're in. If you told your colleague something that how you would speak to like a manager talking to a colleague, obviously they're going to get the shits at you.
Yeah, it's going to be very different.
So you're being condescending.
Yeah.
They have every right to get emotional about it.
Mm-hmm.
So that, from your end, if you're not doing that right, they're obviously going to get emotive about it.
Yeah, of course.
But I think it's just managing how you say it correctly and kind of making them...
Well, it's empathy. You have to approach the situation from their point of view. Especially if you're talking about like a debate or an argument or anything. Very little people will respond to you telling them they're wrong. But if you can have an empathetic approach, talk to them more from their angle, you're much more likely to end up having a discussion rather than an argument.
That's a really good point. We can save this for another time, but the biggest thing that I'm having right now, especially with the field I'm in, is, you know, there's a lot of animal welfare questions and in like climate change sort of specific questions. And I think what's important for me is I need to do the research from the other side. You know, it's great that I'm biased, obviously, based on what I do, but it's also important to have their perspective. I don't want to enter into a discussion with someone who believes one thing and I only have my knowledge on one side. That's not a discussion. That's just a shouting match between two people who have very different opinions. If I understand what they're saying and I can at least show empathy, listen, acknowledge, understand and say, well, look, I've done the research on this. This is what your side is saying. This is why I believe this. You know, and I would expect that to be reciprocated.
Yeah, well, there's no point in having that discussion. Like, if I end up in a... You know, it happened at work the other day. Sorry. It is so warm. We're talking about climate change at work, and like I've really not paid attention until the recent fires. But I just decided to talk to a few older right-wing people at work. Mate,
you should just go on Facebook. Everyone's an expert on Facebook. Fuck me. I'm sorry, Jesus Christ.
There was actually a status put up the other week by someone I went to school with that ended up with like 200 comments, everyone just lashing out at each other.
I've never seen something so polarising.
Did you see that?
No. I don't waste my time on it.
Good man. Speaking of social media, I know you're kind of involved in this, but I know there's a bigger conversation now than ever, like people kind of pushing back against social media. Have you noticed that?
Yeah. I think, 8 months ago or something?
There's been a switch where I've seen a lot of people sort of detoxing from social, getting off it, saying that it's wrecking everyone's lives. But not that I thought of this, but it's true in the fact that social media is just like a platform. The people have filled that platform. Like people that say, oh, it's fucked everything, but it's the people that are posting that. That's not Facebook posting that.
That's not what it was intended to do either.
But like that's the thing, it wasn't intended for anything. Facebook's just going to react to what the business needs to react to, and
what the masses
they're facing massive criticism now for politics and all that shit overseas.
Zuckerberg's the face.
But fucking, we loved Zuckerberg 4 years ago. He's fucking greatest person in the world.
Changed the world, connected the world.
He's made entrepreneurship cool.
Yeah, it's interesting, but it has just completely flipped the idea of value over perceived value. You know, if every single post you look at on Instagram is some guy flexing his rich car, some guy flexing his rich apartment, this is what an $88 million house looks like, this is what a first class seat looks like for 20 minutes. It's like the value of it's gone, you know?
It's so true. And the thing about that is that person that posted that could be their fucking dad's car. They could hide the car. Like, we don't have any context on that. But the people that go a step further and say, like, that's social media's fault, I disagree, because people were still doing that before the internet was a thing.
It's exaggerated it.
Yeah, it's just made it more obvious.
Yeah.
But people have always shown, we talked about this last night, people have always shown the best of what they are currently dealing with. Let's just say, for instance, back in the day, mum and dad would have an argument all the way to a party. Mum, dad, 2 kids in the back, screaming and yelling all the way to the party. They pull up and they say, listen, this does not fucking leave this car. We are a happy family in this party. Party goes on, get back in the car, go home. It's back to fucking World War III. True? I don't know.
No, it's keeping up with the Joneses. It's appearance.
Yeah. It's always been the way. Social media's just made it more obvious. But I think it's a good thing.
My perspective was more based around wealth and people's inaccess to wealth. People want to know what they can't have. And I think a reason why this flexing is so popular, or wearing Supreme shirts and putting it on YouTube, is because people will watch it because they can't access it. They can't afford a Bugatti Veyron. So they'll watch some rich kid drive a Bugatti Veyron because that's the only way that they can access it.
I say fuck all of that. Because I know that you got off it recently, sort of thing. But like the people that are complaining that that's all they see, it's because they're looking at it. Facebook's just going to keep showing you what you like.
I'm not talking. I'm talking more YouTube. You know, when I was at school, I'd be looking top 10 richest people.
Oh, yeah.
Richest this, richest that, richest that, because I wanted to know what it's like to be rich, and I want to be rich.
That's interesting.
That's what I used to always do during my free periods at school.
What's your value on money, do you think?
It's changed a lot since I moved out of home.
I bet.
I used to think money grew on trees when I lived at home. And then you move out and you're like, holy fuck, okay, I'm going to be close to my paycheck here. So
this is Nick Wolf, who had a tab at the local coffee shop.
For a month. It was for a month. And I spent $450 in a month. Mum sends me a photo of the bill. What the fuck is this? And it was like a receipt that long of like bacon sandwiches, strong flat whites.
That's fucking gold.
Hey, Ryan wasn't complaining.
No, why would he?
No.
That is actually too. You're probably one of the reasons I got into coffee, I reckon. Close to it.
Yeah, but it's the surrounding nature of coffee. You know, I remember having this talk with you when I came back from Europe. I get more value over sitting over coffee with yourself and Michael and Hayden, having a good conversation rather than going to the pub, having 6 schooners and then slapping a 50 on the pokies.
Have you ever done pokies?
Maybe when I was 18.
I reckon I've put in all probably $300 to $500 in over the last. I reckon
it'd be about $200
years. Didn't win anything, so that's probably helped me.
That's a good thing.
Apart from coffee, what else do you do?
What else do I do?
Actually, I don't have much else.
Yeah, I was going to say, I go to work every day, mate. That's about it. I'm clogging the machine.
What's your current routine?
Current routine, wake up at 4:30, train at 5 a.m, on the bus at 6:42 a.m, get into work at 7:30, work till about 7:30, get home at about 8:30, eat dinner, go to sleep and start again. And then on a Friday, I'll drive home from Manly, I'll go to the George, have a couple drinks and dinner with my family, and then I will coach on the Saturday. And then my favourite time of the week is sitting down at our coffee, having my strong flat white, and just chilling.
We've only missed that 1 week this year, I reckon.
We've done pretty well.
Last 6 months, probably missed that 1 week.
And your current routine is wake up at 7, work until, 3, and then work again?
Well, at the moment, I finish work at 11 p.m, so I'm normally asleep before 12. I get up, recently it's between 6:40 and 7:30. I've just injured me back a little bit, so I've been going for walks, take the dogs for a walk, work from sort of 8:30 till 2, then I leave for work at about 2:30, start work at 3, work till 11, rinse and repeat Monday to Friday, and then I have to take a break on the weekend. I need it. If I don't sort of have that time off, see Nick, see the boys, have a chat. I'll just burn out through the week.
Yeah, you're playing it down, but when Nathan started his side of business, he was doing night shift. When did you start? 11 p.m. most nights?
Started work at 11, yeah.
So he would be working during the day, and then he'd do it an 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. shift, somehow slept for 3 hours, then operated again. Like, how do you start a business while doing night shift? That boggles my mind. And it definitely made me work harder because I'm thinking, why am I complaining about how hard my life is when this guy is working night shift and then starting his own business? If he can do that, why can't I just do a normal job?
That was an interesting time.
You were on autopilot, like with everything else that was going on.
To your point, like that really put into perspective for me, like what my body can do. There was a 50-50 chance when I finished work at 7 a.m. that I was either gonna, it depended on what I had on. If I had shit to do, I could be up until 2 p.m. and then sleep till fucking 5 or 6 and then get ready and go to work. But over those, because it was a weird roster, it was a 9-day fortnight, which I normally ended up doing 10 or 11 days anyway, just because I needed to earn money.
But that sorry, just to cut you off, that canning issue that happened when Nathan started to get the calls, he was still working night shift. I remember we were delivering the first batch of cases around the city and we're on our way home and he starts getting the call that cans have exploded in people's faces. And this guy still had to go to work that night. How the fuck are you going to go to work for 8 hours knowing that the cans you just made could injure someone?
Yeah, that was fucked.
Then to finish the shift, not sleep, and have to face the repercussions, think, what am I going to do? Am I going to recall it? You know, that would have been such a hard decision to make.
That was a regular... Every week, that first shift back was being awake for like 30 plus hours.
On a weekly basis. Jesus
every
Christ.
week. Because what would happen, I don't know why we were even talking about this. I'd finish work Friday morning at 7 and you don't want to miss out on a weekend. So you just stay awake the whole day. You've been awake since 11 p.m. on Thursday night, finish work at 7 a.m. and you're like, I don't want to miss out. So you'll either have 2 hours sleep or you won't sleep until Friday night so that you get a normal sleep for the night time. So you've been awake fucking at least 24 hours. And then Saturday, Sunday, you just have your normal Saturday, Sunday during the day. Sunday, you go back to work at 11 p.m. and you wouldn't sleep you might have 2 hours sleep before you go to work. And you're awake for another 24.
Yeah, you were doing damage to your body.
Yeah, it wasn't good. And you don't realise until you get off it how bad it was. But I don't know, man. I'm not going to get fixed up on that. What's your take on self-awareness?
Oh, it's an important...
Well, what is it to you, more so?
Self-awareness, I think, is just being aware of the actions and the consequences they have on other people's opinion of you and how other people are going to react based on what you say. A lot of the time, I'm known as an overanalyzer. So I'll make decisions and I'll make statements based on how I think the other person's going to react. You know, sometimes I don't think about that, and then I say things that are extremely selfish and hurtful, which I've learned over time that I do say.
Yeah,
when I go on autopilot, I say, like, you just say the wrong thing, and then you look back and you're thinking, fuck, like, oh, who was that person? But self-awareness is such an important tool, I think.
Well, I had a chat to you 3, maybe 4 years ago now about that.
Yeah, you changed a lot after that chat.
After that chat, well, Nick basically, I did this with probably the 5 closest people in my life. Nick being one of them, probably the first one, probably the one that I felt most comfortable in knowing that he would tell me the truth. And I sat down, I said, hey dude, I'm trying to learn more about this self-awareness thing, so I need you to just tell me straight up. What am I good at? What am I bad at? And Nick basically said, when, like, you're a good bloke, as soon as you get too drunk, all of the awareness you have about other people's feelings just goes out the window. And since he said that, I can probably count on my hand the amount of times I've like gone too far. Like before that, it was probably a regular occurrence. And after that chat, it's just been it's been something I've really worked on, I guess.
Comes back to the feedback piece, but remember calling him out because we were having a conversation. He said we needed to say, I was asking him questions about how he's going, and then obviously he was polite and asked how I'm going. And then as I started to talk to him, I see his eyes start to wander away or look at a car or look at someone walking towards him. So I just called him out. I said, mate, you don't even give a fuck what I have to say. Like, you're just being polite. I can obviously tell you're not interested. Like, if you want me to be interested in what you have to say, well, then treat me the same way. And I can guarantee the 5 people that are watching this will 100% agree with that statement.
I'll still do it.
If you are putting in effort with someone and asking them questions, you would expect the same back from them. Nice. There is nothing more frustrating than listening to someone talk for 35 minutes about themselves and then ask one question about you and just go on a fucking autopilot. That is like one of my biggest pet peeves. Like,
took you long enough to call me out.
Oh, but you've changed. Like, and you take feedback well, so you're fine with that. And look, I probably do it too. I do it. But I tell people to fucking tell me as soon as I am doing it.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, that's a rant over. That's for another time.
Good rant. Get it out. To finish off, I guess, obviously being the first podcast all over the shop, we will get better, promise. But any feedback would be greatly appreciated. It's probably the first time I've actually looked at the camera. But yeah, we want to know what you want to talk about. Ask us any questions. We'll get better, I guess. So,
yeah, look, we just get passionate about things. And I think it's staying on one topic that we're passionate about rather than keep going.
I highly doubt anyone watched the whole video, but if you did, you're my man or woman.
Yeah.
Keen to hear. But yeah, that's half a bottle of wine. What do you think of the wine?
It's good shit. We're going to finish it.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
We'll finish it with the aircon on.
Well, how much has it changed since the first sip? That's what I find the most interesting, because you'll have the initial first sip for me was very full-bodied. There was a lot going on. It just kind of fucking smacked you in the mouth. And now that it's sort of aired out, I feel like it's a lot smoother. But
you're good, mate. He's good at talking about stuff he has no idea about. You'd almost believe he was an expert.
No, it still smacks.
It tastes good.
But anyway, that's 9 and 1, episode 1. Thank you.
See ya.
See ya.